Everfree Guardian, Chapter 6, Part 2. Sapphire Shores? Nate followed behind Rarity as he finally spoke up in the one-sided conversations that he and Rarity have been having. Despite showing discontent when being near him, Rarity was not the one to stay silent for very long. A good conversation is all one needs to ease the tension between two potential friends. And seeing a good opportunity to finally break the ice, Rarity nodded, as she waved her hand about over the glistening dirt beyond the south exit of the Everfree, hoping to find gems in a few quick minutes to start them off.
Sapphire Shores is one of the most popular pop singers in modern pony history. She has just recently made her resurgence after a 5-month absence, which I heard was the vacation period for her.
Another singer, huh? Well, here I thought Songbird was the name most would be familiar with as of late.
Oh, quite so, darling. After her latest hit, Rainbows, she has been on the front of magazines and newspapers from here to Vancouver. Speaking of which...
Rarity glanced back at Nate as she found some gems, marking them for him to dig.
That song was inspired by you, wasn't it? I had heard mention of you when Fluttershy and Applejack were following us up the Everfree Mountain.
Nate grunted as he hit the gems about a foot into his digging, scuffing away the excess dirt and picking out the gems that they'd located. Yeah, the dragons attacked me when I was headed back home, and in the middle of the fight I was... well, kinda shoved through a portal to the middle of the Everfree Mountain. He dumped the gems into the wagon as they moved along. I had to fight my way down. All those bodies that you and your friends saw, that was me. Rarity cringed and leaned away from Nate.
My word, all of that was you? There is no way a stallion could take the lives of so many dragons, especially when their kind is physically superior to ours.
Yeah, well, I'm not what you'd call normal compared to other stallions, Miss Rarity. The fashionista prolonged a short stare to the back of Nate's head before she eventually let it go. She had to focus, and they had a very limited window to get all of the jewels that Rarity needed for these suits. If they don't find a jewel mine by tomorrow, Rarity would need to get creative with her work, and that would risk Sapphire Shores disapproving her changes in the design. On and on the day went. Rarity would locate the gems, and Nate would dig them up. A few times they'd struck up a conversation based around small talk, often gravitating towards topics of the two of them that they were familiar with. By the day's end, they had enough to fulfill their day's worth of goodies. The wagon was beyond full. So much so that both Rarity and Nate had to carry some of the gems in their arms while the latter pulled the wagon along. Considering how heavy gems were when collected into a mound, this put a bit of stress on him, and he hated not having a free hand to reach for his gun. Keeping a close eye on the Everfree Forest tree line as they circled around it, Nate couldn't help but have a foreboding sense of impending danger when looking at it. He's felt this before, that lingering sense of something stalking you, a dreaded terror of someone following you. Nate knew it all too well. Nate stopped the second that he heard something move within the brush. Pressing a hand on Rarity, she was forced to a halt when she walked into his grasp, standing just slightly behind him as he narrowed his eyes. The rustling he was hearing was too deliberate, too coordinated. These were not timberwolves or any other creature that was native to the wildlife of the forest. Nothing had this level of intelligence to work with one another in full synchronization. Keeping his eyes going to and fro, he watched as more of the shrubbery was being disturbed. He counted off at least 4 spots where the quivering masses were most violent. Taking a step back, he kept Rarity behind him as one of the figures emerged. What appeared to be a bipedal canine came stamping out of the forest, hissing and growling as its ears were folded back. A menacing smile turned scowl was present on its face, and its matted fur gave it all that much more of an intimidating presence. The amount of dirt and grime on it suggested that it lived underground, or used tunnel systems like the one centered around Nate's home frequently. Rarity, scrunching her nose at the creature, backed away.
Oh, hello there. Good day to you, gentle fellow. I am Rarity, and this is my friend Nate.
The human glared back at the white unicorn as the canine stalked forward.
Me diamond dog.
Nate ushered Rarity to keep retreating as they left to the jewels behind, Nate's hand slipping to his sidearm attached to his belt. Rarity, still attempting to be charming, giggled anxiously.
Oh, really? Well, that explains your fine taste in jewelry. I mean, I know that diamonds are a girl's best friend, and now I know that they're a dog's best friend, too.
More dogs appeared behind the red-vested one, some short and some tall. The danger began to get real as their sights were primarily set on Rarity. Shit, I can see where this is going. Rarity smiled as the two stopped, the presence of the dogs now behind them as well.
So, you're hunting for gems as well?
Yes, we hunt.
We?
We hunt for gems, but you are a better hunter, so now we hunt for you.
Rarity's eyes widened as Nate tugged her down by the arm, forcing her to crouch as one of the dogs from behind lunged at them. Catching the predator by his arm, Nate pressed his other hand on his underbelly and sent him flying through the air, the momentum of his lunge used against the diamond dog as he went crashing into two others by the trees. Hearing a snarl to his left, Nate swung his fist back, cracking the mud out of the air just as it jumped for him. Turning and punching another in the stomach as it raced for his right, he grabbed it by his neck and twisted it over his shoulder, snapping the bones as it hit the dirt with a powerful slam. Spinning back around, Nate snagged another dog by his throat as it reached out for Rarity. Stepping past the fashionista, Nate shoved it into the ground and grabbed it by its tail. Using the creature as a weapon, he managed to clobber two of its brethren before he tossed the breathing tool away, sending it far into the trees of the Everfree. Keeping himself over Rarity, Nate lowered himself slightly as the entirety of the Diamond Dog force was now coming at them. Stopping one left him open for another to clamber on his back, biting him in the neck. Forcing its jaws away from him when they opened, he kicked another dog back as he whiplashed the first one into a nearby small boulder. His various small victories over the dogs were short-lived. Where one was discarded from the attack, another took its place. Nate was practically being mauled, yet still fought off the onslaught of sharp teeth and ragged claws, all to keep the crouched figure below him untouched. Throwing the last of those on him away, he felt a sense of teeth graze his lower calf. One of the diamond dogs had bit him in his heel, forcing him to drop as another tackled him to the ground. Kicking and shoving at them, he was dragged away from Rarity, forced to watch in combination with fending off the rabid creatures as they grabbed her and began dragging her away. Snarling, Nate held one of them back as he drew out his pistol. With that single gunshot, the diamond dog that was upon him was dead, a hole now present in his face as he rolled it off of him. Standing back up, he cringed as his leg was damaged greatly, forcing to give him a limp. Looking towards the diamond dogs, he saw the last of them retreat down one of their burrows, Rarity struggling the whole way. Gritting his teeth, Nate ignored the pain enough to tear off after them, only getting as far as the hole before he tripped. With his arms overlooking the hole, he dropped his pistol, his only lethal defense against the creatures of Equestria, into the hole. No! He punched the side of the hole as the throbbing pain of his leg made his scowl twitch. Pulling himself up, he looked down at the bite mark on his heel, seeing that the dog had indeed punctured his skin and sunk deep into the top of his foot. But not enough to do any lasting damage if it got medical attention for it. Something that he can do without for a few more hours. Reaching down his belt, he drew out an old 11¼ inch hunting knife that he always kept on him in the events that he had to get personal with something that can be downed with a slice of their throat or a jab in the abdomen. Looking down into the tunnel that Rarity was pulled down after his fall, Nate took a step forward, then leaped in, trailing down with his arms before he was able to begin sliding the rest of the way. As he descended lower and lower, his eyes narrowed upon seeing the end of the slide, which would then spit him out into an old mine. Motherfuckers.
Ow!
Rarity was harshly thrown onto the floor after being dragged level to level in this cave system. Having reached undoubtedly the bottom, the dogs that had nabbed her under the human's eye was now held hostage by them. For what purpose, she didn't know, and it didn't seem like they were intending on having a tea party.
What are you going to do to me?
The leading dog nodded to her, signaling two of the side dogs in a crowd to pull out a breeding stock.
Oh no.
Rarity yelped as she was hefted into the air, brought to the stock, and locked in, before she could even make a move. The leading diamond dog came around to the front, the chains on the stock pulling upwards as it and the unicorn were pulled onto a cart.
What is this? Let me go!
No, you're our precious pony now. Forever.
Why? What did I ever do to you?
The leader chuckled as he smacked the minions that he had attached to the front of the wagon into gear. They began walking as several dogs crowded around the wagon, sniffing at her.
It is not what you have done, Pony, but what you will do. We hunt for gems. Pony also hunt for gems. You help find gems hidden in the earth, and you remain unharmed. Cease to cooperate.
Rarity yiped as she felt several slimy tongues run up the back of her legs, reaching calves as they lapped away at her fur.
And you will be useful in another manner.
Rarity only shuddered as the dogs removed themselves from her, her quivering gaze focusing up on the leader.
If the gems is all you need, you could have just asked. I would have helped had you done so.
Her horn ignited in a pale blue aura as she scanned the room, showcasing several spots in the area where small stockpiles were present. Marking them, the dogs split up around her, digging out the jewels as the leader blinked. If all they had to do was request her aid, then... Or no, it would never be that simple. They'll hold her here, keep her here. Eventually they'll find all the gems in this cave and then she'll be useful thereafter still. Licking his lips, the dog's eyes wandered across Rarity's body. Those massive breasts, those luscious birthing hips. Yes, she will do nicely. Turning the corner with the cart, he crossed his arms as he stood on the end of it just behind Rarity, waiting for the moments that she couldn't find any gems and thus forfeit herself to him. And of course they go after that. What other thing would you expect? Anywho, let's get on to our safe and secure donators. Top donators are 630, J Tinman, Darkside, Only One Thing, Dash of Evergreen, and Ceru Orion. Rayden, Narwhals, Blackmoonheart, Pastel Skies, Austin Rollins, Crazy Killer 557, Stu Hexword, Brother Mortured, Omicron Library, Will, Chris Twinkie, Hadzaza, Ride Soul, Iron Sky, Badass Waffle, and many more beautiful people. Thank you all so much for watching this video and live life to the fullest.